No. Okay. No! Gosh darn it. So we all have our weird habits, our strange little quirks that separate us from normal people. The other day I noticed that while I read, I do a lot of weird things. And this isn't really something that I just noticed. I've kind of noticed it over time throughout my years of reading. There are just a lot of things that I do that are weird when I'm really into a book, which I mean makes sense if you think about it, because when your mind loses itself into an entirely different world, you kind of forget about what you're doing in the real world. So I have a list here on my phone just so I don't forget anything, and it is quite a long list. I actually have a lot more weird things than I realized. The first thing that is weird, but I don't think it's weird, but like maybe someone else would think it's weird, is food descriptions in books. Like how I react to a food in a book. Anytime there is a food described in a book, I want it. I don't know what it is about fictional food, but it just sounds a lot better than real life food. Even though it's like the same things that we eat, if it's described in a book, I want it. Even if it's something that I would never eat in real life, I want it. I'd eat that if I was in a book. There have been meals that have meat. I haven't had any meat in 12 years, but when it's described in a book, I'm like, you know, I might eat it if I was in a book. You know? That doesn't make any sense. That's weird. And this is kind of the second thing that is attached to this, is that even though I am a foodie and I'm always hungry, books have the ability to make me forget to eat, which is weird. I don't forget to eat. That is not something that I am capable of. But when I am sucked into a really good book, eating and staying hydrated is the last thing on my priority list. So when I'm reading a book and it says, Jimmy ordered a sandwich, I want a sandwich, and then it dawns on me, I haven't had any food today. What? And that's when you know a book is good. There are good books, and then there are the books that make you forget to eat. There's a big difference. So the next weird thing that I do, and I'm pretty sure we all do this, but it's still so weird, is facial expressions. It's actually really embarrassing because I didn't even realize that I was doing this until recently. I was reading a book and something really stressful was happening for a long time, like a few chapters was just really stressful, and then I realized that like my face felt kind of sore, and I realized that I'd been like scrunching up my face for 15 minutes. Apparently my face definitely gives away what is happening in the book that I'm reading. I think that I look stressed out more than I do happy when I'm reading. Like, I feel like I even look stressed sometimes when I'm reading a good part of the book, but it's more like I have this really intense look of concentration while I'm reading. I've seen a picture of myself reading and I'm just like I can't do it. I can't show you guys. I have to be in the zone. My brows are all scrunched up and I'm just like, I look angry or something. When I read in public now and there are people around me, I have to actively relax my face. So yeah. But another weird thing that I do with facial expressions is that I also imitate facial expressions that characters make. Does anyone else do this? For example, if a character smirks, I'm smirking. If a character smiles, I'm smiling. And if I catch myself doing it, I'm like, what the heck, face? Stop moving, I didn't tell you to do that. Okay, the next thing, I have wanted to talk about this for so long. This is one of the biggest things that I do while I'm reading. Okay, so I become very invested in what characters look like because I like to feel as if I know exactly what they look like and that I am imagining everything exactly as it should be. I am particularly extreme when it comes to what characters are wearing. If an author doesn't describe a character's outfit, I am really irritated. And what bothers me so much is when a character is wearing a really ugly outfit. Why would you wear capri pants with a sweater and flip-flops? Like, I don't want to imagine that. Like, now I have to imagine you wearing this weird thing that you put together for the next 300 pages. And one of the things that I think is fun about fantasy books is imagining all of the dresses that the female characters are wearing. However, is it just me or are these dresses actually impossible to envision sometimes. I'm just like, what? Sounds cool, that sounds pretty, but I honestly have no idea what this page-long description of this dress looks like. I don't know if it's the perfectionist part of me or what, but I need to know that I am imagining everything as it should be, that I'm not misunderstanding anything the author is saying. This brings me to my next point, which is if there is a term or a word or something described that I don't understand, I will actually put my book down just to spend time Googling it to make sure I fully understand what the author is talking about and then continue reading the book. But I do this so often, even for things that I do understand, I will Google it to make sure I have an even more in-depth understanding of it. It's honestly annoying because I want to just keep reading and forget about it, but I can't. Like, I have to know and I have to do research on it. I also will spend an unbearable amount of time analyzing book maps before I read the book because I want to understand the layout of the world. It's one of the reasons that I love book maps, but also, wow, I take them way too seriously. Alright, so the next weird thing, and this is kind of going to turn into a little mini story time, is that I very much so tend to mingle the books that I'm reading into my real life. One time I was taking an exam in my English class and I was writing an essay on the test. And I don't remember exactly what it was about, but the essay was writing some kind of summary analysis on a book that we had read. You know, I couldn't help it. The entire time I was taking the test, I was kind of also simultaneously thinking about Harry Potter. You know, it happens. I think about Harry Potter a lot, so it's not really that weird. But it got to the point where I accidentally started switching up the hometown of the character with Hogwarts, and I started calling the hometown of the character Hogwarts every single time I wrote the name of the hometown. So yes, I actually would have sentences that said, in chapter 5, when Susan returned to her home of Hogwarts. That's basically what the paper sounded like, but like over and over again I made the mistake. So I got my paper back a week later and all over the essay were just red marks. And then at the bottom, my teacher had just written Hogwarts ? It was a little bit embarrassing, but not really, because I'm actually really close to my English teacher from high school and she knew me really well. She basically saw right through my mistake and was like, Sophie, I think we need to have a little bit of a talk. I really appreciate your love for reading outside of the class, but can you please keep that, you know, outside of the class? And this brings me to my next point, where I kind of mix up fictional characters with real life people. Not mix them up, but I end up comparing them a lot. And it's not good, because then the people that I actually know just end up looking really disappointing to me because they're just not as good, you know? Then I become actually sad that I don't know people as great as the people that are in the books I'm reading. No offense to everybody that I know in my life. I'm probably not talking about you if you're watching this. Probably not. Okay, next, I don't actually do this anymore because I've learned from my mistakes, but this is a weird thing that I did for years and years. Anytime I picked up a book before I would read it, this was how I decided whether or not to buy a book. I would turn to the last page of the book. I would pick it up, skim through it, and then I would go right to the last page and read the very last sentence. And if I thought that the last sentence sounded intriguing or cool, then I would buy the book. But if not, I would put it back. Why did I do this? No idea. I would never do this now. I hate being spoiled for books. I would never want to read the last page of a book. So I eventually stopped doing it because I obviously started getting spoiled for books. So another thing is I cannot read right next to another person. I can if it's like my family, because whatever, I'm used to you people. But if it's a stranger, I can't. However, for some reason, whenever I sit down with my book outside of my classes, somebody always decides that right next to me is a great place to sit. And they're just this hovering presence that I can't ignore. I do this thing where I pretend I'm reading the book, but I'm not reading the book. I'm not paying any attention to the words on the page. I'm just mentally glaring at them. People are annoying. And those are all of the weird things that I'm going to talk about today. Those are all the ones that I could come up with for now, although I am sure I have plenty more. So if you ever wanted to see me talk more about weird things that I do while I'm reading, you can go ahead and let me know. Maybe I'll do another one. I really want to know, what are the weird things that you guys do while you're reading, and how weird are the weird things that I do? And do you do any of the weird things that I do? Let me know. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap up today's video, so I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. I hope that you're going to have yourselves a fabulous day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!